at this congregation, but I'm going to ask anyway. Do you believe in heaven? Again, I know the answer is kind of an obvious answer, but do you truly believe in heaven? And I think we're all here for the reason that we do. We're here because we share a same core beliefs, one of which is we believe in heaven. And we want to get there. We believe in this place that is more fairer than day, as the Bible talks about it. We believe because we are together that we want to get there, and that by grace, through faith, we can actually get there. We learn from the Bible, about that by grace are you saved through faith. But the study I came across a few months ago that really confused me said that, and we kind of hit this on this morning in Bible class. The study said that 64% of all Americans believed in God. Let me correct that. 64% of Americans believed in the Christian God. Okay, that kind of is a little bit high, a little bit low, and it kind of on both sides, but that part didn't surprise me. The next thing did. 64% believe there is a God, but only, let me get my actual number right here, but only 55% believe in heaven. What? 64% of you believe in God, but only 55% of you believe in heaven? They kind of go together hand in hand. If you believe in God, you believe in heaven. If you believe in heaven, you believe in God. They really go together, and that just seems illogical to me. And a lot of you may remember the last time I was here, I sent you through a lot of different classes. We went through Greek class, we went through culture class, world civilization class. We talked about a lot of different things the last time I was here. Today I'm going to condense that to logic class. We're still going to be in school today, but we're going to talk about logic today. And 64% believe in God and 55% believe in heaven. That's just not logical. So that got me thinking. Okay, if I believe in heaven and I believe in God, what else does that require me to believe logically? And I came up with about 10 different things that I want to share with you today. First, if I'm a logical being, and I believe in heaven and I believe in God, then I believe that the Bible is the Word of God. I brought up that study a few minutes ago, and this is one of the stats that continued to baffle me. 64% believed in God, 55% believed in heaven, but 34% believed that this was the inerrant Word of God. What? 34% of Americans believe that this is the inerrant Word of God. If you don't believe in this, how in the world do you believe in heaven? Were you just sitting watching the Cats play last night? Watching TV and go, you know what? There's a heaven. Yeah, of course. Or were you sitting at the kitchen table, drinking your coffee and reading your newspaper and then going, you know what? There's this spiritual realm. It's not physical, it's spiritual, and God lives there. Ooh, it's eternal. Yeah, there's that place. No. You didn't learn about heaven, you just didn't think it up. Either someone taught you from this book, or you read it yourself from this book. No place else do you learn about heaven than from here. And if this isn't the inerrant Word of God, why do you believe in heaven? It just doesn't get me. Because we read in Psalms, if I go into heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in the grave, behold, you are there. If I go into all the four corners of the earth, behold, you are there. Did you catch that at the beginning? If I go into heaven. Or maybe you prefer the Matthew account of the baptism of Jesus. You remember in chapter 3, John is baptizing in the river, and Jesus comes along. And he tells John, I need to be baptized. John goes, no, I am not fit to even tie your shoes. Jesus insisted, this is what I need to do. It's required of me. And after a while, he convinces John to baptize him. And Jesus is baptized, and catch this, the silence of heaven was broken. And God said from heaven, behold, this is my beloved Son in whom I am well pleased. Did you catch that? The silence of Philadelphia was broken. The silence of Israel was broken. No. We learn about heaven from this book right here. We learn about its characteristics. We learn about what it is here and nowhere else. Point 2. If you believe in heaven, then you have no difficulty believing any of the other supernatural events of the Bible. I want to say something that probably won't surprise anybody. I don't quite get the full scope of heaven. I'm a physical being. Okay? Heaven is this spiritual realm. What is that? What exactly is that? I can't wrap my mind around it. I mean, it's eternal. I mean, I'm finite. I know life. I know death. I know beginning. I know end. Eternal, I get the concept, but I can't get my mind completely around heaven. I mean, a place that we talked this morning, we brought up the talks about the levels of heaven and the different rewards there. What exactly? I mean, I kind of get the concept, but I would be willing to say I understand about this much of heaven, but I still want to get there, and I still believe it. And if I can believe wholeheartedly in something I can't fully get my mind completely around because of its nature, I have no problem with the Genesis account of creation. Because guess what? I can touch, I can feel, I can see this creation. I get creation. I can easily see it because science tells me if there is something, it was created. Nothing comes from something doesn't come from nothing. And you can actually prove biblically and scientifically that the God of the Bible actually is that creator, but we won't get into that today. But I understand creation. I can touch it. I can feel it. I can't touch and feel heaven. So if I'm confident in the Bible's description of my overall destination, I am definitely comfortable with my origin. And I am okay with the Bible's account of a worldwide flood of Noah. I mean, I understand floods. I'm from Paducah. I'm in a dead-end road at the corner of our street. If it rains really hard, it floods. There's been times that we've had to take a boat, just to get across the corner. I understand floods. Now, I don't want to minimize a worldwide flood. I mean, that's amazing in and of itself, but I understand floods. I can get a flood. I've been through a flood. I get that, and so I have no problem with the account of Noah. And if I can believe in heaven, I have no problem with the miracles of the New Testament. I mean, we've all eaten fish and bread. We've been filled on fish and bread, right? And again, I don't want to minimize, feeding 5,000 people with so little food, but I can get it. I've been full from food, specifically fish and bread. I've done that. So I can get that. So if I can really, truly believe in heaven, I'm past all that other stuff. I have no problem with the other supernatural, unnatural events that the Bible talks about. Point next. If I believe in heaven, and I'm a logical thinking being, then it requires my keenest attention. I want to get to heaven. That's all there is to it. And one day, barring any interference from God, I'm going to die. And after that death, I am going to either get to heaven or I'm not going to get to heaven. That's just a fact. And if heaven is what it says it is, and I know it is, I want to get there. And so I'm going to do everything I possibly can to do that. And when I think about this, I think about the book of Hebrews, specifically about Moses. If you want to flip through to Hebrews chapter 11, you can actually read about a lot of different heroes of the Bible, but I'm going to specifically talk about Moses here today. Because it says, by faith Moses, when he had come to years, refused to be called the son of the Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God rather than the pleasure of sin for a season. Why don't you sit back and close your eyes and think about young Moses. Not like a young teenage Moses. I'm talking about a little bit older Moses. Think about it. The grandchild of the Pharaoh. And when I do this, I know my mental image is wrong. I'm crossing cultures, I understand. But when I close my eyes and think about Moses, I think of a young, strapping man, well-built, laying on a pillow, being fanned by the most beautiful women with little fans, or maybe even palm branches, and some of them taking some grapes and feeding him. I mean, surrounded by luxury, golden faces, flowers everywhere. I mean, your choice of supermodels for a bride. I mean, you name it. It was his. And again, I know I'm crossing cultures here. I understand that. But whatever the Egyptian equivalent was, that's what he had. That was Moses. The lap of luxury, anything he wanted, at his beck and call, it was his. And yet, he chose to refuse to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with God's people. He not only did that, but he went even further. He left that area and got married, and wasn't even like a rich guy just outside of Egypt. He became a lowly shepherd, not only of his own, not just of his own flock, but most probably of just his father-in-law's flock. He went from the palace to the fields, riches beyond riches to rags beyond rags. I mean, we always love the rags to riches story, but Moses is exactly the opposite. It's a riches to rags story. And he chose to do that. Why? Why would you do that, Moses? Well, the Bible tells us. Because he, esteeming the approach of Christ greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. Did you catch that? Heaven. He chose to go from the riches of riches to the lowest of lows because he knew that heaven was worth it. And if it required giving up everything, it was worth it. And you know what? For Moses, it required that. It required every bit of that because he knew exactly what Jesus was going to say in Matthew chapter 6 when he says, "But lay up for yourself treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust do corrupt, where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, your heart will be also." If I believe in heaven, I am going to do everything I can within my power to get there. Because plain and simple, heaven holds all for me. That's it. Plain and simple. Point next, point 4. If I believe in heaven, then I must make all the application of Jesus' teachings in my life. I have a confession to make. I am 34 years of age. I've been reading for approximately 29 years. I've been reading well for 26, 25, I don't know how long, but more than 24 years I've been reading well. And I have never read in its entirety, never read once, my tube of toothpaste.